I'm Patty Ann Brown, and you are in the strategy room. President Obama got some good news late Wednesday after Senate Democrats struck a deal to revive the White House trade agenda. If passed, Congress will give Obama fast-track authority to negotiate future trade deals, which supporters say would have long-term benefits for the U.S. Well, here with reaction are Jessica Tarlov, senior political strategist at Schoen Consulting, and Tammy Bruce, radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
So the Senate reached an agreement on this, but now it faces tough going in the House. Lawmakers opposing two different things in the legislation. First, they object to giving President Obama these fast-track powers. That would actually give him the authority to negotiate trade deals with other countries and then submit them to Congress for a straight up-and-down vote without amendments. Some people not comfortable with that. Democratic Congressman David Scott of Georgia saying, quote, "We have seen too much power ceded from Congress to the executive branch at the expense of the United States, particularly in foreign matters." The Washington Times says this is a breathtaking spectacle. Democratic lawmakers complaining that the president of their own party is trying to grab too much power. Tammy, what do you say?
Well, I think that was made clear with the Democrats keeping control of this first round and embarrassing the president, I think, quite dramatically. He also losing his cool when it came to Senator Warren, making very personal remarks in that one interview.
Yeah.
It really exposed to the American people a kind of a level of chaos, a lack of communication with the base. If Elizabeth Warren is controlling Congress, well, what is Barack Obama doing? Also, the American people and Congress was disturbed about the Iranian situation when it comes to Obama seemingly wanting to not involve Congress when it comes to the treaties or arrangements he makes. And I think Congress is correct in saying, look, we've got to have more of a say. This is part of our job as well. Mm-hmm. That's why they were elected. At the same time, the American people can see that a variety of other of Obama's ideas have been bad economically for this country. Suddenly he's going to be a genius and has a great idea. The unions are also against this. They're saying this is going to have an impact on employment here. It's going to have an impact on a whole host of things that affect the middle class and American workers. So that entire section of the Democratic Party, I think, is correct. At the same time, the American people know Obama's history and his pattern, and I think, unfortunately, after 7 years now, I think whatever Obama's going to be doing is going to be bad for us, and we've got to look at it in that frame as well. It seems like he wants more secrecy, Patty Ann.
Yeah, we're going to get to that point coming up. But Jessica, what about this dissension in the ranks? What's going on here?
Well, I mean, it's something that's been going on for a while now. That usually Obama's just on team Elizabeth Warren, or Elizabeth Warren is on team Obama. You know, that we've seen this fissure between the progressive left and more centrist Democrats. I think it actually spells a lot of trouble, or rather some handiwork that Hillary Clinton's going to have to deal with. I mean, she was actually involved in the beginnings of this trade deal anyway, so she's going to have to openly and publicly take a stance on it. But, I mean, yes, Obama was embarrassed. I didn't find the interview about Elizabeth Warren to be as terrible as many people are making it out to be. Certainly not sexist. I mean, they're friends. They agree on 99% of issues.
So we should just say he called her Elizabeth.
Sorry, yeah. He referred to her as Elizabeth instead of Senator Warren.
Yes.
And Sherrod Brown came out after him, attacked him for that. And I didn't see, when you know that people work that closely together and are that close, I didn't think that it was a problem. But
look at the context, though, of what he was saying beforehand.
Right.
His manner.
That he was talking down to her. And
I have to say, if someone's in the room with you and you're a friend with them, like he has with other senators, and you refer to them by the first name, that's fine. But he also did that in 2008, a very denigrating kind of approach with Hillary. We know the history of women leaving the White House, saying it is a hostile workplace. So this man does not have a good reputation.
Right.
And
we're getting a little bit off track now.
Yes, all right.
Let's get back to trade here.
I was just about to bring up equal pay.
Right. So we talked about the first sticking point being this power of authority there.
Sure.
The second sticking point is that some lawmakers want a provision to address currency manipulation by other countries. And President Obama has rejected that demand. This has upset many Democrats. Let's quote again Congressman David Scott. He says Obama's refusal to protect against currency manipulation is asinine, in his words. Republicans more supportive of Obama's proposal overall. Tammy, why is that?
Well, you know, there is an argument, it's certainly conservatives' view, that within the global marketplace, the more activity that there is, the better. The fact is, China continues to manipulate its currency. It has an impact on the value of the dollar. We know now that, of course, they hold most of our debt, and it's a little frightening because the world keeps changing. You see what's happening in the Middle East. China is manipulating its currency for a reason. We don't know really economically completely what's going on in China. to remove the ability for us to adapt and to change and to have some kind of power relationship with a nation like China and trade is ridiculous. And to say that effectively the president wants complete carte blanche and saying, this I accept and this I don't, really, this is not a kingship. This is about a separation of powers and a balance, and he wants to remove that.
So why is it that you have quite a few Republicans who support the deal?
Well, I think that and this is where Republicans like Democrats get a little fixated. I think that there is a sense that the more trade, that the more engagement, the better no matter what. Right. We are completely invested, if you will, in China, and that there's a sense that, gosh, the more goods you get in, the less expensive they are, the more it helps consumer spending, et cetera. I think Republicans need to be a little bit more aware of how that affects the American worker and consumer prices for the middle class.
Jessica.
I just wanted to add that I think there's also a leadership component to it. I mean, global trade is going to go on with or without us. And I think that this is also part of President Obama's plan to integrate us more into a world that our pivot to Asia certainly didn't work. So to get us more involved in the area. And I'm not saying there aren't issues, and I do understand the point about currency manipulation and protections for American workers, both of which were the extra, pieces that Democrats negotiated for and that they're going to get, though President Obama has said currency manipulation legislation is not happening. But I don't think these are things that he's unaware of or that he doesn't care about. In your perspective that whatever Obama wants is not good for the country, I certainly don't agree with. I think that this is a tough-talking piece of legislation and that he wants a seat at the table, and he wants the top seat at the table, and these things need to go through quickly to get there. I mean, hearkening back to what happened with the Iran deal or what is soon to happen, I don't stand with him on that. I'm glad that Congress is going to have oversight over that, but I don't see this as the same issue necessarily.
All right, quickly, 2016 campaigns, how does this play into that, Tammy?
Well, you've mentioned, Hillary was involved in the beginning, has said nothing. She is going to have to. She said nothing about anything.
No surprise.
But these are the issues that could separate her from Elizabeth Warren, from Barack Obama. Who's going to be the third term of Barack Obama, right? I mean, is she going to be? She's got to have a position on this. People do want leadership. They need some kind of influence. And I think the Republicans are going to have to convince their base, those who want to try to explain how this is a good thing. There's a realization, though, that the American people understand that the economy, poverty is up. The economy is in trouble still. More Americans, we found out last Friday, unemployed, the most Americans in history unemployed, the most American women unemployed than in history.
We're getting off the trade point again.
But this is about trade.
Okay.
And when it comes to 16, they've got to explain why the decisions they're making, how it's going to affect employment here and consumer prices and the economy in general, how it will help American companies hire more people. And if we're still, once again, relying on foreign nations and making it easier to flood this nation with non-American made goods, that's going to be bad news for the economy and for employment.
Good point. Good point.
And Republicans have to address that.
Yeah. Jessica?
Yeah. Well, both sides have to address it. I mean, we know that they've given out some statistics of 40%. We'll have to see a 40% increase in exports to developing economies that we're going to be working with, things like that. But I totally agree.
That's guesswork. That is guesswork, and that's the other problem. The export-import difference, the gap. They're guessing that China and Vietnam is going to want more of our stuff. Really, where's our stuff being made now?
Let's let Jessica finish. But
anyway, I think, as Tammy said, it's important for Hillary to articulate where she comes down on this, and I think it will be very similar to President Obama on this particular thing. She will separate herself more, I think, on foreign policy than necessarily on this trade deal. And on the right, I would think in the end that most of the GOP contenders are going to line up in favor of the trade bill, or at least the more mainstream candidates.
All right, Jessica and Tammy, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And you can check out foxnews.com for more on the trade debate. I'm Patty Ann Brown. Thanks for watching.